let's start at this top tier. Obviously, we both like John Rahm. I don't dislike Dustin Johnson, by the way. I've got him fifth on my list of ranking the entire 144-man field. That is in no way a slight to Dustin Johnson. The one thing I don't like about DJ, and I'm willing to say it's all coincidence, but he has been a favorite or co-favorite pre-tournament at 7 previous major championships. Of those 7, he has one top 25. He finished third a couple of years ago. And that's it. And other than that, he does not play well at a favorite. Now, I can't imagine that Dustin Johnson is the type of player who gets worried or cares or even knows that he's the favorite going into an event like this. He might not even know. He might not even think about it. It just doesn't even cross his mind. But it's a little too much history for me to ignore because in his 7 previous major starts where he's not the favorite, he's played so much better. He's got a bunch of top finishes in those. So I'm not quite fading DJ. I mean, moving him from first, on the odds board to putting him 5th on my overall list. It's not exactly a fade, but he's not my favorite play. John Rahm is. We start looking down the board. Justin Thomas, but sure. Rory McIlroy, sure. I get down to Xander Schofley, though, and Xander's a guy I really like. I mean, you look at what he's done at major championships, 12 career starts, 6 career top 10s. Again, it's another trend. It's another pattern. We should not be surprised by anything Xander does positively this week.
Yeah, I mean, you're just stealing all my thunder here. This is exactly what I agree with. I mean, I have DJ number 2. I just think he's expensive in the markets. I think he should be right up the top. What he just did is incredible, playing some of the best golf, if not the best golf of his career. I like him a lot, but just don't like the pricing in the markets. I prefer Rahm straight up, so I'll be much more positioned there from DFS and betting. And then, yeah, I love Xander and Rory in the top tier, specifically Xander. Rory, there's a couple outlier prices. On BetMGM, I will bet Rory and Xander in some top 5s and top 10s with the no dead heat rule. So those guys are really interesting. Wouldn't surprise me if either of them played well and won. But, yeah, there could be carnage. And all these guys, one thing to look at with the make-miss cuts, like that's where somewhere, I wouldn't mind taking DJ not to make the cut at like plus 400 or 500 or something. Same thing with basically any of these guys outside of Rahm, just because there's some variance with the way the course plays. And I do think it favors, obviously, the heart of the course. Normally that yields results from the best players. But these U.S. Opens, you can have a wayward hole. And I think there's potentially a little bit of value there. Going down in that next tier where I think you have a lot of guys. You have like Webb, Patrick Reed. I'd actually I'd put Bryson in that category now, honestly, and that's kind of where he's priced. Morikawa, Matsuyama. I really like Patrick Reed, and I haven't been on Patrick Reed nearly as much. I think he's playing well, and he's always kind of just been someone that I'm not fading, but someone I don't have a huge investment in. This week, I could see having quite a bit of Patrick Reed, given the scrambling. I think his scrambling and around the green play and just the overall kind of grinder that he is sets up extremely well for this U.S. Open.
Well, the one thing I think we can look at this week, obviously there's not much course history. I mean, if you want to look back at 2006 and try to extrapolate something from that and say, well, Adam Scott did this or Tiger did that, I just wouldn't look at anything from 2006, quite honestly, as far as the guys who are still playing. But what I think you can look at are other big, tough Northeast type courses starting in the New York area and sort of working your way out. And I look at that first playoff event, now the Northern Trust, what used to be the Barclays, played in the New York area for so long. It's been at Bethpage a few times, been at some other courses on Long Island and in the greater New York area, New Jersey, Plainfield. So you look at those places and you look at who's won those golf tournaments. Dustin Johnson's played very well in that event over the years. Patrick Reed has played very well.
Yeah.
Ricky Fowler has played very well. I don't love Ricky this week.
I love Ricky this week, by the way.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
I love Ricky. I love Ricky relative to where he's priced. Again, the guy who I think, the swing changes are a little goofy, but give me these guys who are wizards around the greens and can grind out pars. I think Ricky is, I don't necessarily believe in what he's doing with his total swing, but he's still really good around the greens. And he just hasn't made a ton of birdies this year relative to kind of where he was in the past. So I like a setup like this for Ricky in theory. And Ricky is priced. I mean, he's way down there now. Like he's priced in some crazy ranges where I feel comfortable buying Ricky in a couple spots.
Well, I'm glad you say that because I don't disagree with anything you're saying there, but I don't think you can show up at Winged Foot and find your game. And I'm looking at guys who are trending in the right direction. And so, yeah, obviously the books are going to pay attention to those guys as well. The books are going to see some drift on the guys who are not playing very well coming into this. And, you're going to be able to get a longer number on them. It's going to be a shorter number on the guys who have played well recently. I mean, the books know everything that we know, certainly. And I look at Ricky Fowler, though, and I see that he does not have a top 10 since January, since week 3 of the previous PGA Tour season in this year. So that's a lot of golf without seriously contending. I just don't feel like Ricky can show up, and not just Ricky, but really anyone that doesn't have their game right now can show up at Winged Foot and all of a sudden turn it on. I mean, Ricky's been 49th and missed cut in his last 2 starts. I know he's had swing changes and he's trying to do some different things. It's been a while now. I mean, at some point you look at Ricky Fowler and you say, he's just got to play better. And Ricky is a guy that when he plays his best golf, he tends to be trending in the right direction. He tends to feed off some momentum and start playing really well. And I haven't seen that yet. So I'm not on him, but looking at that range, I do think there are some guys in that range that I really like, maybe a little bit shorter prices than Ricky, but love Tony Finau. It's like a poker hand, Pete. I'm all in. I'm playing blind. I don't know whether I have the nuts or whether I'm bluffing, but I'm pushing all my chips in on Tony Finau, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
Dude, you have to bet on Tony Finau for the rest of your life, because if he wins and you don't have him, you will hate yourself forever. So you just emotionally have to keep buying Tony Finau. And look, Tony's playing great. Only concern with Tony is just always the putter, and it is what it is. Maybe he gets hot.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him standing over an 8-footer to take the lead on Sunday afternoon on the 14th hole. Not whatsoever. But we talk about those big, strong guys who can hit it out of the rough, who have what it takes to get a wedge into 5-inch rough and get the ball to the green. And there are maybe 10, 12 guys who I really trust to do that.
Tony
on a
was
regular
good
basis.
around the greens too, by the way, in 2020.
Yes. Soft hands, very good hands. So I've got sort of my killer Fs lineup with Tony, with Tommy Fleetwood, who had a great ball striking week in Portugal last week, and Matthew Fitzpatrick, who's played some tremendous golf in those 2 tough golf tournaments that Jon Rahm has won, the 2 toughest of the summer so far, the Memorial Tournament and the BMW Championship at Muirfield Village and Olympia Fields, which each of them played like mini major championships. I mean, if you slap a major in front of those names and you'd say, well, yeah, played really hard. And Jon Rahm was the best player. Matthew Fitzpatrick finished 3rd and 6th at the 2 of those. So it shows you that he likes playing and competing when the score is closer to par.
You don't have to convince me on Fitzpatrick. We were talking a little bit before. He's someone that I think is a really, really strong play. He finished 16th in total strokes gained in 2020. Really had some great performances. Has been an amazing putter. He did gain a ton of strokes putting, which normally I'm buying the opposite. I'm kind of buying the ball strikers and the bad putters. But with Fitzpatrick, I think it's very real. And he doesn't really have a weakness. Like, I guess the worst thing he did last year was scrambling, but historically he's been a much better scrambler than he was last year. So I bank on some nice regression around the greens, and like his putting, I mean, has just been so good that, and I think he's truly one of those guys who's always going to be a pretty good putter. So I like Fitzpatrick a lot. I think it's long odds that you're seeing. And in general, there's probably a little bit of value on these, not that Fitzpatrick is a Euro player anymore, but there's some really good Euro players. You just mentioned Fleetwood, who played well. Some of these guys that are grinding it out on the Euro Tour are at crazy prices in top 5s, top 10s, which again, you don't have to pay ties on MGM, which I personally love. So I love betting those guys there. Who else in this range do you like? Because I agree with you on these F names. Fitzpatrick probably be my favorite, but I think there's a lot of good names here. I like Louis Oosthuizen. and Eric Van
Okay.
Rooyen a lot as well.
Okay. I could be sold on that. Tough not to like Daniel Berger. We talk about guys coming in on heater, and Daniel Berger's been on a 3-4 month heater right now. He's playing really, really good golf.
Top punter.
Peter, I mean, a little question for you. See how well you know me. And it's based on how I term this too. But do you know what my favorite bet was for this week? Not is, was.
Your favorite bet was you were gonna bet DeChambeau initially. I remember that.
Yeah, I'd been on DeChambeau for a while.
Your favorite bet was,
That's what I was
gosh, now
looking
I
up.
feel bad. I feel like I know you pretty well, Sobel, I'm thinking about
And
Bryson. What else?
you were going to be on it too, I bet. Scotty
Oh,
Scheffler was
Scheffler,
going to
yeah,
finish in the top
Scheffler.
5 of this golf tournament. Scotty Scheffler has been top 5 in 3 of his last 4 starts. That includes a major, a WGC event, and a playoff event. He played really well at East Lake in his last start. He's a former USGA champion. He won the Junior Am, I believe, 7 years ago. I mean, it was just like the stars were aligned for Scotty Scheffler to go out and have a really serious title contention. He was going to be in the top 5 of my ranking of the entire field. And then he got COVID and tested positive, and he won't be there. In fact, throw Sam Horsfield in there too. I kind of like Sam Horsfield for top 30, top 40 bets. I originally had him in my preview this week for top 40s, and I don't have him anymore. But talking about some of those Europeans, the other Europeans that I do like, Rasmus Højgaard, 19-year-old kid who's won a couple times already on the European Tour. I get that he's young. I get that he's playing his first one, and he doesn't have much experience over here, but I like him to do something. Just maybe it's just a made cut, but I like him. I think there's some value there. And then, Peter, I'm going to give you a name because I know you like Thomas Pieters. I'm going to give you Thomas Pieters light. Like sort of, how can I put this? If you like White Claw, I've got some Truly for you. I mean, it's basically one of those, like, it's the same thing, but just it's packaged a little bit differently.
Sure.
Although it's almost packaged the same because they have the same name. They're from the same country. Thomas Dietrich. I'm just getting a lot of Thomas Dietrich vibes this week. And this guy is 27, plays college golf at Illinois, just like Pieters, from Belgium, just like Pieters, hits it a long way, just like Pieters. Pieters has played well in the U.S. Open before. Dietrich has never played in a major. I think he's got to be chomping at the bit to get out there. He's been everything on the European Tour and just can't scrape out that first victory. I like him for potentially a first-round leader bet, and we're taping this before we see the tee time, so don't know if he's got an early tee time, which would probably help, but maybe a potential first-round leader and sprinkle some top 30s, top 20s, maybe even top 10s on Thomas Dietrich this week.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. I like all these Euros, man. I think that there's a lot of value in them. They're grinding over there on the Euro Tour, and there's a couple of these elite guys that you see really short numbers on in the Euro Tour, and now you're getting them at crazy odds, which obviously we have the best players in the world. And when you have DJ and Rahm and Rory and Xander and Morikawa and all these, like, of course they're going to be really long odds, but that doesn't stop you with these place bets. And I think there's some value across the board. I'm going to butcher the names. I like Romain. Is that how you say it? Is it Langquist?
Romain Langosque.
Oh, yeah, see.
I believe.
I'm going to let you keep you up with the names. But, yeah. Waring, I really like. Parator. I'm butchering the names. Fox.
Paratore.
Okay. Paratore. I feel good about pronouncing Fox. I like him by the numbers. So those are some interesting bets, and I think that they're just not priced appropriately because these odds makers aren't seeing them on the PGA Tour, and the average person who's betting this stuff, they're betting the names that they know, and that's not the Euro guys. So I think there's a lot of value in those guys as long shots. But I don't want to skip over some longer odds just in general. You name Thomas Pieters, I really like him. And one other guy I like a lot is Poston this week. Who are some longer odds guys that you like?
I'm going to give you another one, and he fits the bill of everything we've been talking about. Jason Kokrak.
Oh, yeah.
Has been playing well. Let's see. I'm going to pull up Jason Kokrak as we speak right now. 6th at the BMW Championship, 13th at the Northern Trust, 15th at the Wyndham in his last 3 starts. That, my friends, is trending in the right direction. Peter, I did this piece. It took me hours. I don't know if people understand, like, there's not like a database, like a button where you just say, okay, I want this, and this, and you press it and it spits out some numbers and you write a piece about it. I went and dug and did some big time research on what I did was found the 12 toughest tournaments as far as scoring on the PGA Tour over the last 3 years. And I typed in all their score, all the players' scores, all the players in the U.S. Open this week, all their scores, found scoring average from every player who's played at least 10 rounds and is in the field this week. And I went down the list and I looked at who has the best scoring averages in those really tough events. And it's not all just you. There's only one U.S. Open on the list. There's a PGA Championship. There's a Shriners Hospitals for Children Open.
Wow.
The one that Patrick Cantley won. Was apparently it was really windy. There was tough scoring. Who would have known? But there's a CJ Cup in there. I mean, it was some random tournament. So it's not just who plays well at the majors. It's who plays well when scoring is closer in relation to par. Tommy Fleetwood was atop the list. Justin Thomas was right there. Webb Simpson. Dustin Johnson was up there, but Jason Kokrak was pretty high. I was surprised at how high he was on the list. I like Kokrak a lot this week.
I love Kokrak, and I love those bombers. I agree with you, though, off the bat. We haven't hit on any of the straight kind of, the less sexy type players in terms of just like making a bunch of birdies, hitting it a long ways, but more of the grinders and the straight guys. And I think there's a couple guys that make a lot of sense there. Brendan Todd comes to mind off the bat, just with how straight he's been and how good at scrambling he's been. I think he's pretty nice, but he's more expensive than I initially thought he would be coming off a great season. The guys who I think haven't been as good, that are normally kind of the guys you go to in this range, actually show a decent bit of value to me. Guys like Matt Kuchar, who is showing, I think, some really nice value, especially on those place bets. You don't like Kuchar, do you?
No.
Yeah. Here's another one that I bet you hate, that the model really likes.
Kuchar, by the way, Matt Kuchar has reached the point of his career, and Steve Stricker got there years ago. There's some other ones where, and I take nothing away from it. Like, this is not, I don't mean this in a gender bias kind of way. Don't take it this way. But in the stage of their careers where their wives are caddying for them, and I don't care if it's it's a friend, it's a buddy, it's, Tiger went through a stage where he had Brian Bell, his best friend from back home, caddying for him. When it's just like, I don't know, I just need someone to carry the bag, whatever. I have a hard time backing you if you have a hard time backing yourself. How's that sound?
That's fair, and the numbers aren't looking at that at all. But if you just have a player that fits that mold, and again, this is all price dependent.
Yes.
Here's the other one that I was really surprised to see standing out that used to be, when we had these situations, maybe not at U.S. Open specifically, but where you want the guy who hits a dead straight, the guy who's going to hit every fairway. He's going to pull out that 3-wood and just smash it down the middle every time.
I know who you're going to say.
Henrik Stenson.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's an interesting one. I was surprised to see kind of his pricing. But, yeah, he's interesting to me. I think it's tricky. Kuchar, you kind of got me a little bit worried about him, to be honest. But yeah, almost everything else is these bomber guys. I mean, I'm with you. I think we want to be looking to these bombers a lot more, and I'm specifically interested in some of these young, talented Euro guys that you've named off.
We have mentioned a lot of Europeans without perhaps two of my favorites. And they're not young guys, they're not bombers, but they are guys who have played well at the U.S. Open in the past.
Westwood?
Martin Keimer. I'll get to – okay. There's the two of them. Martin Keimer, a former U.S. Open champion, who just took all the life out of the 2014 U.S. Open. I mean, it was going to be a fun week back-to-back with the Women's Open at Pinehurst #2. It was going to be great. And then Keimer goes out and he's leading by like 33 shots after the second round. And you're like, all right, I guess. I remember going to the course during the weekend, and it was like, it just felt like a regular event. Like, there was drama was out of it. Like, we're just kind of like, all right, I guess we're, just kind of, not worrying too much about who's going to win because it was a foregone conclusion, really. But Keimer is back to playing good golf once again. He looks happy. Keimer's a guy who isn't always happy with playing golf. I don't get the sense that that he loves the game all the time, which I would say that's probably 95% of players out there. But it looks like he's having a lot more fun right now playing the game. He's a really good guy and a really good player when his mind is right. And I think his mind is right now. And I would say the same exact thing for Lee Westwood. Peter, back in, was it February, March, I was at the Honda Classic. And Lee Westwood was playing pretty well. And after the second round, I think it was, I went over and spoke with him for a few minutes. And I gave, the usual post-round interview, but he was chatty. He was funny. He was relaxed. And afterwards, I basically said that to him. We talked for about 5 minutes with some other reporters. And then he kind of started walking away. I said, Lee, I've never seen you like this. You look like you're so just happy right now. And he said, I am. He goes, you know what? If I didn't feel like playing this tournament this week, I wouldn't play. He's like, I just do what I want whenever I want to do it. And it's great. Life is awesome. And he had this big smile on his face. And I didn't say it to him, but I immediately thought, and I will say it was for the Open Championship, but I thought, this is a guy who's going to contend for a major and maybe win a major when we least expect it at the age of, 42, 43 right now. And with no Open Championship, I obviously he can't do that, but this is the next closest thing, and I would not be surprised to see Lee Westwood in the mix this weekend.